Hi there and welcome back to Everyday Objects at Not So Everyday Speeds, the series in which we take kind of normal everyday objects you might find lying around your house, put them in our hypersonic wind tunnel here, and see just how well they fly at hypersonic speeds. I'm Stuart Laurence. I'm a professor here in Aerospace Engineering at the University of Maryland, and I'm going to be your guide to the world of hypersonics in this series. So, like many members of the aerospace engineering community, we were intrigued to hear that the US government is taking a closer look at reports of unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. And of course this got us thinking as well. I mean, these UFOs, if they do exist, they're going to fly enormous distances across the galaxy to get to Earth, but when they do get here, they're going to have to fly in the atmosphere at hypersonic conditions, and kind of wondered just how well could they do that. So in this episode, we're going to take this UFO here, this sort of traditional flying saucer type geometry, we're going to put it in a hypersonic wind tunnel and see what happens. So here's the flying saucer sitting in the wind tunnel. You can see that we've mounted it in the usual configuration with the saucer part edge on to the flow that will arrive from the left. And we've also added some landing legs just to make things a little more interesting. So here comes the flow, and once again we see that we don't get proper separation of the threads and we have some strands flapping around in the flow. Well, wait a minute, could it be something else actually? Of course. Anyway, let's rewind a little. So early on with the saucer edge onto the flow, we see that the shock generated here is quite straight and originates close to the edge. And this is quite different from the shocks we've seen in earlier videos. This type of shock we call an attached shock, since it attaches at the leading edge of the body. Although this one is actually not truly attached, since the saucer edge is slightly blunt. Okay, let's let the video play, and now we see that the edge-on configuration isn't really stable, and the flying saucer rotates quite quickly to present its blunt face to the flow. And now we see that the shock is quite different from earlier. It's highly curved and is sitting in front of the body. This type of shock we call a detached or bow shock. You can see it appears quite a lot stronger than the earlier attached shock, and indeed, changes in flow properties across a bow shock are much larger than across an attached shock. Alright, let's have the video keep playing. And we see that the flying saucer continues to rotate as it flies backwards, although that rotation is slowing down, and now it might actually be even righting itself, with its blunt face turned towards the flow as it leaves the field of view. Well, I guess that just goes to show, if there are flying saucers buzzing around in the atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, they're probably not going to be doing so in the sort of traditional edge-on configuration we're used to seeing, unless that is the designers had access to some kind of alien technology. Clearly that's impossible. Anyway, thanks for joining us for another episode of Everyday Objects at Not So Everyday Speeds. If you have a suggestion for an object you'd like to see flying at hypersonic speeds, please email us at hypersonicEverydayObjects@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us again, and see you next time.